All right, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Giro podcast. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the all-new, the inaugural Breakaways and Breweries podcast. My name is Jordan, I'm your host. I am joined by our expert panel of Louise Gibson from Internationals. Hello.
Hello.
Danny Roberts-Clarke from, well, just the world-famous Danny Roberts-Clarke.
Hello, mate.
And local race king, Jamie Olsson.
Hello.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Excellent.
Fired up. Looking forward to these beers.
Looking forward to these beers that are in front of us.
Thirsty.
So, Breakaways and Breweries. Let me give you a bit of a rundown of what Breakaways and Breweries is. This is basically a new podcast that is focused on pro cycling, which is something that we love to watch, both the men's and women pro peloton, and beer. For most of the time when we're watching pro cycling, let's face it, we've probably got a beer in front of us. So we thought, why don't we bring the two together, use our Giro podcast platform as a way to talk about it, and use it as a way to preview some of the new races that are coming up. What do we think?
Brilliant.
Sounds pretty good.
Ready.
Yep, glad to be here.
All right, so episode 1, here we go. We're going to be talking about the Tour of Flanders. And before we get into the details of Tour of Flanders, I think it's important that we open up the first beer. So Breakaways and Breweries, we're going to be looking at local breweries from all the races. So, and of course, let's face it, Belgian Beer is Belgium's pretty spoilt with regards to beer selection. So we had to work pretty hard to make sure we could keep this to the race. So we're going to start with a Belgian beer called De Koninck. That is a beer from Antwerp, which, Danny, if I'm correct, that's the start of Flanders, isn't it?
I think it might be.
Well, how about that?
How about that?
He
It's
knows
like
he's
we
going to win,
planned
but he doesn't know where it starts.
Yeah.
I thought it just went from Quermont to Quermont.
All right, so let's distribute these beers. Oh, and actually, Louise is not drinking because her body is a temple. She is an athlete.
Because I'm massively hungover from yesterday.
No, we shouldn't talk about that.
Sorry.
So we've managed to source from the Quaremont brewery in just outside Oudenaarde, a Quaremont non-alcoholic. So let's open up this one for you. Boys, do you want to grab one of the... A big shout out to Beer Sniffers who sourced these red bottles here. A big shout out to Beer Sniffers who sourced these beers for us. So this is Bolecki from De Koninck, which is very exciting.
What's the pour techers on these, mate?
Well, actually, Belgian beer, you want as much head as possible.
So just dump it.
And we'll talk
From a height.
Yeah. I'm going to spill this everywhere.
Long drop.
The long drop. Yeah, a bit like a Moroccan tea.
Oh,
There you go. Well,
shit.
Oh.
See?
Yeah.
Quick.
No, it's
Told you they'd go pear-shaped.
it's a good thing we're not filming this. Oh, wait a minute.
He said dump it in.
Bloody hell, Danny.
So
Well, I said dump it in.
You win.
That is mighty impressive.
80% head.
Good on you, mate. You'll be able to drive home after that one.
That's funny. I think I'm just going to take a quick photo for the potty. All right.
That's terrible.
Terrible. Well, if
Just going to drink from the bottle.
For those of you who are not watching this but listening to this, that is pretty terrible. So actually, Belgian beer, like, have any of you three been to Belgium?
Yes.
I was there with you.
Of course you were. You've been drinking in Belgium?
No.
No. Okay, fine. So, drinking in Belgium is an absolute experience. Like, beer is... It's so difficult to say. Like, beer is just a part of the culture, and it goes back, I mean, for centuries there, and even, now you've still got some of the sort of like monasteries and making these Trappist beers, but their beer etiquette is phenomenal. So if you go into a bar and order, for example, a delirium, it will be served in a delirium glass. It will never ever, if you say, can I have a delirium, for example, which is a type of Belgian beer, and they don't have a glass, they won't serve it to you. Like, because all the sort of glasses are different shapes to resonate with different flavors and scents and all that type of stuff. So, what do we think of the beers?
I
I
like
can
this
only
one.
taste foam, but the foam's good.
No, this one's got a nice,
Oh yeah,
refreshing,
oh I love it.
bit fruity.
It's a bit fruity. How's your non-alcoholic?
It's actually
Quaremont?
not bad. Some non-alcoholic beers are pretty terrible and you just think it's not worth it at all.
Yeah.
But it's actually nice. It's
Pretty
refreshing.
good. Nice and light.
Yeah.
All right, so Flanders. This is, for me personally, this is just like the most exciting part of the year as far as watching pro racing. For the last like 6-7 years, for the last 8 years, a group of us have gone out to go watch the race live. Obviously, last year we couldn't do it. This year we couldn't do it because of, the like COVID situations. But it is just magical. And this, obviously we've got 2 mega races coming up. We've got Tour of Flanders and Roubaix. That has definitely been cancelled because I'm hearing.
I don't know if it has. It's like 99% cancelled, as last I heard. Anyway.
Okay, we heard it's
it
cancelled.
should make Flanders better because they'll be all in for the big win at Flanders instead of maybe saving themselves for the week after.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows?
I think it's not 100% cancelled.
Okay.
Yeah, it seemed like it was, and then there's rumours that it might be okay. I don't know.
Well, we can talk a little bit about Roubaix. But Flanders, there's just something so magical about it. And from the middle of February, from Omloop, which of course we discussed at length, Louise, you have these amazing sort of like spring classic season where they're usually pretty hard, gritty riding. Sometimes the weather's good, sometimes the weather's like really rainy. Yesterday in Gent-Wevelgem we saw incredible sort of like side winds that just ripped it all apart. But if you get a chance to go out to watch Flanders as a race, it's brilliant because how it starts in Antwerp and then it's a pretty boring like 80 kilometers out towards the Flanders region and around Oudenaarde, and then it basically just loops around in like a bit of a spaghetti up all these bergs, which we'll talk about in a moment. But we go and watch it on Ode de Quaremont, which is one of the cobble climbs where your beers come from.
Wicked.
See, not bad, eh? And the men's race comes up that 3 times, the women's race comes on it once. But it's very difficult to put it into context because it's like football over there. Or it's like sort of over there, the cycling's like, the kind of the British version of football. The whole country stops, or at least the whole area of Flanders stops to watch it. There is thousands of people on the Ode de Quaremont and all the climbs. There's big screens. Everybody's drinking. Awesome. It's this proper party atmosphere. And it's just so exciting. And obviously gutted we can't be there this year. And it's very strange seeing it behind closed doors. But this is the reason why we just get so passionate about it, because it's such a phenomenal race. Jamie, you came a couple of years ago. What did you think?
I mean, like, it was my first time sort of watching a cobble classic on the roadside, and like the noise, the sort of violence of like watching them ride up those climbs was just insane. Like seeing it firsthand was incredible. Yeah. And like once you've seen it like that, you feel that every time you watch it, even if you're watching it on telly. Yeah. And I remember it just being like, it was one of those moments in life where you're just like, this is the best thing ever. Yeah. I mean, I get like that a lot of cycling racing, but that was probably my favourite live like race I've seen.
I've got a great photo of you just absolutely buzzing. He's just like throwing up the horns.
Probably like 10 Belgian beers deep.
He's just stoked, absolutely stoked.
The locals behind us were just dishing out the beers. We had a load on the go. Yeah. And I mean, it was perfect. Just an afternoon spent drinking beer in a field in the middle of Belgium. And then what could you ask for?
And then the night before, in the lovely town of Ghent.
Yeah. We shared a camp bed.
Yeah. You just get on the sauce. And the beautiful Belgian beer, some great food. If you get a chance to go to Ghent, I really recommend it. My wife and I went a couple of years ago. Obviously, she's not a big drinker, so it's not really the point. It's just a great city. So anyway, that's enough from the Flandrian Tourism Board.
They can sort out our deal later.
But, I mean, honestly, I can't express it. If any of you listening get the chance to go and watch it, it's brilliant. And also, what's really great about it, talking about women's cycling. Is they include it within the men's. Yeah. So if you're there watching it, it comes through, and it's I think it could be wrong. They might come up the Quaremont twice. I can't quite remember. A bit hazy.
It was a long day.
Yeah, it's a very long day, but it's absolutely excellent. So let's give a bit of a kind of an overview of kind of like the Belgian races that we're seeing. It's just savage. It's hard. It's relatively flat, but when it comes to the berg, so you have these, climbs called the berg. So there's the Koppenberg, the Paterberg, and then you've got other ones like the Quaremont. And these are basically what makes them so unique, especially for Flanders, is they're quite short, they're very steep, but they're covered in cobbles. Yeah. And these cobbles don't let up. No. These cobbles are savage, really, really savage. Yesterday in Gent-Wevelgem, we saw the Kimmelberg, which if you get a chance to sort of ride the Kimmelberg again, it's just this short, sharp, cobbly, brutal climb. You throw some, there's these brilliant iconic photos when there's, like the Koppenberg in particular. You sort of turn into it, and you just see this thing rising up in front of you, getting steeper, and it narrows up, and you've got these trees, you've got fields either side, you've got the trees that overhang, and it's daunting. And if it's wet and if it's slippery, it's near impossible to get up. You even see the pros,
like ice.
kind of getting off and sort of struggling to walk up it. I'm not sure what other sport you get that. So there's all these sort of moments that just make the Tour of Flanders so exciting. So this is why we're talking about, we're previewing it, which is coming up this Sunday, Easter Sunday. So yeah, we're going to go over both the men's and women's, talk about some of the races that have come up. So Louise, what are you saying? What are you feeling?
I'm excited. So the racing recently has just been bonkers, like hard to predict, and from the start, because we don't always get to see all of it. So, on some of the races we've had recently, you might get half an hour or 45 minutes.
Yeah.
The race yesterday got about 2 hours, and it was awesome. And there's some of them that are just performing each time, and then there's some outsiders, and then it's just hard to predict.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of, getting excited and shouting at the TV. And then yesterday, so at Longo Borghini, she was just solo breaking away, and she's there working real hard, and I wanted her, because she put so much effort, I wanted her to win. So even though I love Voss and her sprint was incredible, I was like, I just felt that that Longo Borghini had been robbed a little bit, but she's been, she won recently too, so she's doing really, really well. And I think she's my prediction for this weekend. That she is strong, and she's got it, but she just burnt all of her matches yesterday and just didn't have the sprint. So
for those listening, the race that we're talking about, which happened yesterday, which is Gent-Wevelgem, which is always the week prior to it, and obviously the men's race happened first, and the women's race happened, and thankfully, as you said, like we managed to get well over 2 hours of it, which is excellent. They had like 50, so on K to go, so up the Kimmelberg. And we're not just saying this for word's sake. The women's peloton, especially this season, is so exciting. It's a really, really, really good cycling to watch. There's attacks all over the place. It was great to see our young British hope, Anne Henderson. And I was like, can she hold on to it? Like, she's a time trialist, she could do it. Yeah. She was obviously just testing her legs, maybe getting ready for this weekend. Yeah.
Maybe. The end was a mess, though. It was counting down, and there was less than 1K to go, and I thought it would be all right. And then it was suddenly an extra 3K, and I'm not sure the riders all understood that, and I don't know if that's what messed up the finish a bit.
In both races, they had to direct them around some smoke at the finish line.
So I contacted a good friend of ours, Christoph Allergart, ultra endurance legend and curve ambassador, Sportful ambassador as well. I sent him a message yesterday, and I sent him a picture of Ryan going up the Kimmelberg from a few years ago, and he was on that ride. And he sent me a picture, and he was right next to the fire. Oh. He and his friends usually go out the morning of these, because he lives in Belgium. He lives in Kortrijk. And they went to do the route, and he sent a picture of the fire. Wow. So the race had already started when this fire broke out. So that's why they had to, and it was, is it going to be...
Fully on the fly.
Yeah, they basically had to do it on the go. And you saw in both the men's and women's races, people dropping back to the commissaire's car saying, what's going on? But it was just because they were having, I think by the women's race, they were hoping they would have had it under control, but obviously they didn't.
Yeah, it was like an extra 2K around the town to get to the same finish they used. But they had to do like an extra 2K lap. Around the sort of where the fire was to avoid them going through thick smoke, which would be no fun when you're trying to sprint.
No, but that's the nice thing about Kimmelberg is it does lend itself to the sprinters. Both the men's and women's races yesterday was massively hampered by the wind.
Oh, it was amazing.
You see them going at times.
The echelons from 100k to go.
Yeah,
it was just so
men's
good.
In particular, it split up with like 100k to go, and there was no way they were going to catch up.
Yeah. No. And even the best riders in both pelotons, some of them missed out because of that. They weren't aware that it was gonna split like that. So in the women's and the men's race, big names missed out on the key moves in the race because it was so early on. And normally, like all the racing's done in the last 50k, but it's just where that crosswind is. That's where when it's that strong, that's where it's going to split the race. It's not going to discriminate whether you're at the back of the pack having a bit of dinner, or whether you're at the front ready to attack. It doesn't care. So
obviously yesterday we saw, both the men's and women's races massively affected by the wind, men's in particular. and it was split up really quickly. So Danny, our tech expert, the man with the stats, the coach Danny, talk to us a little bit about, from like inside a Peloton, like, I mean, because they talk about it was the winning race move, but it was just being caught out on the wrong side. And that race in particular, winds have always sort of plagued it. So, I mean, let's talk about, both the men's and women's, how come there were a break, and what do you do?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess one of the important things that I think a lot of people who don't know a lot about cycling is the importance of being in the draft and being in the wheels.
Yeah.
Being protected from the wind. Like, you can save so much energy by being behind someone.
Yeah.
And normally when there's no wind, obviously being directly behind someone's a really good place to be.
Yeah.
If you've got really hard crosswinds, you need to be sort of behind and off to the side.
Yeah. Why is that?
So that's basically so you're staying in that draft.
Okay,
so
fine.
if you've got if you imagine the wind coming 90 degrees across you,
yeah,
you want to be behind and to the left because you're still moving forward.
Gotcha.
So the effective kind of like direction that you want to be is off and to the left.
And you extrapolate by a group of 20 people.
Exactly. There's only so much room on the road.
There's only so much room on the road.
Especially these tiny little roads in Belgium.
Course, yeah.
It's so you'll see sort of last weekend or the weekend before where Quick Step just went to the front. And they had the whole team there, and they just ripped it. They put 7 guys on the front and dropped half the bunch.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great tactic, and it's really good to watch.
And we've seen it in the Tour as well. There's those like famous stages where it should be a really boring flat stage, and suddenly the whole race has been almost won on that day because they were just at the front and managed to get in it.
It's that day that Froome was in the break with, in the echelon with Sagan. Yeah,
Sagan, yeah.
So
yeah, once you lose that wheel in the crosswinds,
it's a horrible place to be.
Time.
And they had massive echelons in the UAE Tour because the roads are so wide there. It's almost like
so wide
right the way across.
Yeah.
The absolute opposite to the Belgian roads that are just so narrow. And then you end up in the ditch or something.
Yeah.
So good. Flanders doesn't usually get too affected by the wind because there's so much going on. It's such like it's just different. It's almost like a spider web. Yeah, exactly. Because they go up the same roads twice, and they sometimes do the same road in different directions. For example, they come up Quaremont 3 times, but at the top, sometimes they go right, sometimes they go left. So the winds don't have too much of an impact. But yeah, what are your thoughts about this coming week?
I'm excited. It's going to be really good.
Yeah.
Flanders is always one of my absolute favourite races.
Yeah.
I mean, the next 2 weekends, if Roubaix goes ahead, are just the 2 best weekends in cycling. I think it's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who's going to win, but it's going to be good.
Well, this year is the first year that there is a women's Paris-Roubaix.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, it's just mental that it's taken to this point. But it was supposed to be last year. Obviously, last year didn't happen. But yeah, a women's Paris-Roubaix, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, the pros are all super excited because it kind of popped out of nowhere. All the races they've been asking for. Then they just said, "Oh yeah, by the way, there's a Roubaix."
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So they're desperate to ride it. A few of them were out doing, recce's of the route the other day, and then literally later on that afternoon, it looked like it was going to be cancelled or maybe postponed. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't wait for it to happen.
Let's hope the rumours of it being back on are true.
Yeah.
And we get 2 weekends of quality racing rather than just the one that it's looking like at the moment.
Jamie, you've been out to Roubaix.
Yeah, we did it 2019. Did the we took the car out and we drove between cobbled sectors, hanging out the window with flags, drinking beers apart from the driver, obviously.
No, of course.
This is very responsible.
Yes.
But it's different to Flanders in the sense that all the cobbled sections are flat.
Yeah.
Whereas Flanders, they're all mainly sort of short, sharp, steep climbs like we talked about.
There's a bit of gradient.
Yeah, there's a little bit of sort of, they're like gentler slopes on the cobbles, but the cobbles are gnarlier in the Paris-Roubaix route. And it makes for like really furious racing into the sections.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then it's like that sigh of relief for the guys that get on first.
Yeah.
And the rest are sort of just desperately hanging on at that point. And when we went and we sort of picked the start of each cobble sector, and just hearing them go from tarmac to cobble, and like just the thundering and like the bikes chattering and like it's horrendous. Like it's horrible to hear, but it creates this incredible atmosphere around the race. Just makes it.
So as Jamie said, it's a very long day, but it's relatively flat.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when we're talking about cobblestones, and it's the same. So Roubaix, as far as like severity, is a notch higher than Flanders, even though Flanders is. I mean, we're not talking about
they're not friendly.
We're not talking about the cobblestones on Guildford High Street, for example.
No.
These things are savage, uneven, like just brutal cobbles. When you see them, you're like, you're kidding.
Yeah.
And I remember one year we took some customers from here, some friends from here. And we got into Ghent, and there's like a small section of like cobbles, it's just part of the city. They said, "Oh, is this what it's like?" It was like, not even. But when it comes to Roubaix,
they're huge.
The severity of those things are just monstrous.
It's
they're like the size,
and
crazy.
You have to be a very strong.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite interesting because obviously you have to, traditionally speaking, the successes of Roubaix have been very strong, heavy set riders. What's the talk around the women's peloton being, sort of taking on, these sectors for the first time?
I think they're excited, but also like pretty nervous about it because it's unknown.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to compare, those that have done well at Strada or those that have done well at, the other races. Then what will they? Will they transfer that skill? But it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's going to be exciting. Because there's no precedent to it at all.
Yeah, that's quite fun.
Be interesting to see if the cross riders do really well at
They've been dominating in all the pelotons so far, haven't they? That winter form, just racing cross all winter.
And
they've just come into the classics with bike handling, fitness,
all that.
And they're just putting everyone else to shame.
I rode the cobbles. So when we did the Tour de France in 2019, day one started in Belgium. So we did that, and my God, I'd never really ridden cobbles before, apart from Guildford type stuff. But at one stage going up to Garadsbergen.
Garadsbergen,
So when you go around the corner. Yeah. And the cobbles were big and chunky, and there was a car parked in the middle of it, and I thought, right, I'm going to go left around the car. I couldn't. I was in between cobbles, and my bike just went right, just to stay upright. And you're bumping around at the end, and we'd only done, a couple of hours of cobbles, if that. My head was killing me, and my sunglasses were bashing against my helmet. How do they do that all day? Oh my God!
40k an hour for 6 hours.
Everything hurt my arms from clinging on.
This is the thing that I just find so exciting about it, because you can go and watch the race, and how we've done it the last few years is, unfortunately, we did the Sportif once, and I say unfortunately because it's a great event. You get to do the whole route. But it's so busy, and you can get to these climbs and you can't get up because there's people walking. So what we do now is we go out on on Saturday, have a good night out in Ghent on Saturday night, watch the race on Sunday, but then we ride the route on quieter roads on Monday. And everything that you're saying is absolutely bang on. Like, it is... When you realise the speed of both the men's and women's peloton, them attacking these climbs, but just the violence of it, you're by the end of the ride, even if you do like a shorter 60k loop, your back hurts.
Everything.
Your it's in the top of your back, your shoulders, your arms hurt. You see all these guys double wrapping their bar tape, and you understand why. Apart from Tommy Boonen. Tommy Boonen, no gloves, single wrap bar tape.
Oh my!
Legend.
What a guy.
Love that man. But it's just the most exhilarating feeling. And then, so you watch it on the Sunday, and you see, as I say, the men's and women's peloton just come like screaming up it, and so you're fired up. Monday morning, have some breakfast. You're fired up.
Big bowl of porridge.
Yeah, big bowl of porridge. Yeah. Or if Josh Evans is listening, 36 euros for a croissant, but that's another story. But you're totally fired up. And then you get to these climbs, and you're like, "Oh my God!" And you're just,
I am a weed.
And you're just crawling up, and you get these moments of like sheer elation. But it is just
very humbling.
It is just brutal. Oh, it's so
humbling.
Oh, it's so exciting. So this season of cycling, 2021, for both the men's and women's peloton, it has just been. I'm not, and maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's just because it's on the back of, not having much racing last year. But oh my God, it's just so exciting. Like the riders that we've got. I mean, if we talk about the men's for a moment, I'm not sure I've been this excited about sort of the individuals in a pro peloton since like Boonen and Cancellara. As in every race we get to it, we see. I mean, this season's been marked out by Alaphilippe, Van der Poel, Wout van Aert, and there's a few others in there. But it's just and Tom Pidcock. Amazing to see this British rider absolutely smashing it. Goggle,
yeah, Michael Goggle,
yeah,
your hero,
the star of Strada Bianchi.
yeah. But it is just. It makes it. Having that personality to it makes it so exciting, and I genuinely feel excited to kind of see these battle between these guys.
And
it's just
they're characters off the bike as well. There's,
for sure.
and I mean, it's the same in the women's peloton.
Yeah.
There's so many characters, and they're not just these strong riders. They all have these incredible stories, and they all sort of play up to it as well. And it makes for better racing when you've got these narratives playing out behind the racing as well.
I think that's what's getting better about the women's racing is we're starting to get to know them as characters a bit more too.
Absolutely.
And some of them, I suppose, because they're newer to the TV attention and stuff, they're not as chiseled, so they'll just say whatever. They respond really well in interviews. They tell it how it is. Actually, I'm really hoping that Cecily Ludwig does something good because I want more interviews with her.
Yeah, she'd be a really popular winner if she can pull it off at Tour of Flanders.
So it's really cool to get to know all the races. I think maybe what's helped as well is because the whole season got pushed back to the end of last year, it feels like some of the classics were only just on. So we had all that stuff in October, then we had a little bit of a break, and then it's all started again, and we're ready for it. It's awesome.
I think what I'm really enjoying about watching the women's racing is that each week it is different. Like, yes, you've got some like really star players, and it was great seeing Marianne Vos sort of. It sounds a bit crazy to say back. Because she has been a little bit quiet, but she, it was really kind of a good time to kind of see her kind of really strong again.
She's been racing for years.
But honestly, we were trying to pick, sort of a podium for this coming Sunday. It's a really hard one with the women's one. And it's genuinely a really hard one because anybody could do it. Usually with the Flanders, it does split up pretty well. But, I agree, you want to see more of those personalities. You want to see those stories. You almost want to see that venom between, with Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel. They don't like each other, and I'm sure they could probably have a beer with each other. But they've been competing against each other since they were kids.
It's amazing. I love that.
And it's now they've made it to
now they're the best.
Yeah, they've made it to they are at the top of their game. Oh, Mathieu van der Poel, just. How exciting. And there was all these people saying, did he, in that Tirreno Adriatico stage where he just went, the reason why he attacked is because he was cold.
Yes, I love that. So good. He just wants to get it over and done with.
I was cold. So I needed to warm up. So it was that is just so amazing.
It's super relatable as well. You've all been out. You've all been out in the cold with someone slow, and you just want to attack them, and leave them for dead because you're just freezing. Yeah. It's a very relatable tactic, that one.
Oh, so good. And then everyone's saying, he went too deep. He's going to be absolutely spent from Milan San Remo. Wasn't top 10 finish. I think it was top 10 or 11 or something. I'm not sure. But he went for the sprint. Oh, it's amazing. It's just a really exciting time of racing.
Yeah.
Time for the next beer?
I think so.
Yeah, we're about
to finish this one.
The route now.
Oh, sorry. Oh, we'll carry on. Yeah, bottoms up, Danny.
Jeez.
See it off. All right. So the next beer for your. The next beer for your...
for our enjoyment.
For our enjoyment. I was going to say your enjoyment, but actually at home you have... No. Maybe we should post these ahead of time so people can enjoy it with us.
I'll put some on the stories.
That'd be quite a nice idea.
I'll get a little snap of each one.
Hey, good idea. Because we're recording this.
Yeah.
Be like,
this isn't live.
So we're talking to the future. Wow, what should we say to ourselves in the future?
Smarten up, boy.
Smarten up. Yeah.
You look like a tramp.
Put your flies up. Yeah. All right, so the next beer, so we're following the route of Flanders, so it starts in Antwerp. So the next beer is actually going to be Quaremont. So Quaremont is it's a relatively new beer in regards to, some of these Belgian beers have been around for hundreds of years. And so some of the characteristics of Belgian beers, they're usually very strong. They're usually triples, or doubles, triples, or even quadruples. So they're 6, 9, or 12%. So you definitely have to have a bit of vigor for them.
Is that what triple means? Oh, this is a revelation.
Sudden realisation.
I never knew
Danny now knows
what the
how he
multiple
ended up
things
unconscious
Yeah, it's
in
like a,
Brussels Airport.
This is why I had such a big one at Worlds last year.
it's how they do it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had the
how they brew
Belgian
it.
pub at Worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would explain Danny lying on the floor.
All right. There you go.
Thanks, mate. You got a little.
So is this the alcohol-free version
Oh,
of
sorry,
the one
here you
you're
go.
about to open?
This is the alcohol full one, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not the alcohol free one.
Here
Okay.
you go, Jamie. Pass us your
What
your
percentage is
beverage.
your-
6.6%.
You never opened a beer before.
Here you go. I've got to do it in front of the microphone.
Jamie and I have got a 6 a.m. call time tomorrow, so that'd be fun.
Oh, have fun.
So you would have. So for those listening to this podcast, you would have already seen the beers that you can enjoy. So hopefully you're enjoying a Quaremont with us, available online. We're actually going to get some of this non-alcoholic Quaremont for the shop, which would be quite
It's
good.
nice, yeah.
Oh, rad.
So Quaremont is arguably the most key climb within the Flanders race, and so it's quite suitable that they put this brewery on it. And it's got a bit of a cycling theme. So, for example, on the bottle you've got the cobbles. But the reason why it's such an iconic part of the race is that it's quite a long climb compared to some of the other bergs. There's elements where it's very steep, but it's a little bit more. The gradient's a little bit lesser. But this is where we've seen, in particular, the women's race. It's usually where the breaks happen, because it's a case of it's at that gradient where you can just power up, and off you go. And we've seen it in we've seen it a number of times
When
where
we were
riders.
there, Terpstra went on the first ascent of it and
Yeah.
stayed away for ages.
Yeah, for ages,
No one
yeah.
thought he was going to make it. It was definitely like an early play from Quickstep, riding for someone else, but it ended up sticking. And I remember him thundering past, and each time the gap just got bigger and bigger. And everyone was, no one was expecting it, but it's usually the third time up where, because they do it 3 times in the men's race, it's usually the third time up where it will split, and he went on the first go, and no one saw him again. He looked pretty dishevelled the third time he came past us, and we got some good pictures of him.
Deep in
He
regret.
was probably not impressed with me sticking a camera in his face.
You've got that one photo of him that just looked deadly, didn't it?
His whole mouth had just dropped down his face.
Yeah.
His eyes were grey holes in his head.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hope we get
Oh,
back.
I love that.
I hope we get back there soon.
Yeah. Next year.
Actually, a couple of years ago we rode out there, which was wicked.
Yeah.
So we rode down to Calais. We rode to Dover.
That was 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then got the ferry to Calais.
Pedal boat.
Rode to Calais.
Stayed there overnight and then rode to Ghent the next day.
That's cool.
And then got on the Christoph train for 50k.
Yeah, I'm glad I had shingles.
Oh yeah, of course you couldn't come.
Oh.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Yeah,
Well,
of
it sounds
course.
like I
Would have got
missed-
shingles
yeah,
anyway.
sounds like I'd have contracted it at some point during the week.
That's funny. So the inaugural Breakaways and Breweries episode. Now time for the inaugural Danny's Tech Tidbits.
Oh, alrighty. Here we go. Let me get my notes up.
He's been excited for this for
I
weeks.
have been excited for
We
this
need a
for
little-
weeks. So,
We need
We
a
need
little theme.
tune.
little
Yeah,
theme
little
tune.
jingle.
Louise, can you sing?
No.
Okay, fine.
Well, not alcohol-free, no.
Danny's
Yeah.
Tech Tidbits.
Oh no!
All right. Well, since is like bleh.
That's a great
You can
start.
edit that out. That's good. Alrighty, guys. Right, there might not be a Roubaix, but that doesn't mean we can't talk Roubaix tech.
Oh,
One of the rumours that's been floating around at the moment, as we all know, teams love using big fat tubular tyres for Paris-Roubaix. But to kind of,
why is that?
one reason is you can have a flat on a tubular and you can basically just keep riding to the end of the cobble sector and hopefully get a new wheel. Whereas
A tubular or tubeless?
tubular.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
glued
a
one.
tubular is, for anyone who hasn't seen them, they're basically like a tube type tyre
Yeah.
that's just glued to the rim.
Okay.
So if you get a flat, it's not going to fall off the rim. You can just keep riding and destroy your carbon rim. But you
Yeah.
might finish the cobble sector,
Don't
get a new wheel
go
and get
round
back
a
in.
corner with a
Don't
flat
do that,
tubular.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay.
Sounds like a top tip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They will
Yeah.
fall off the rim.
Yeah.
They will fall off
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bike.
That could be another feature actually.
Jamie's best crashes.
don't do what Jamie does.
Yeah.
Things Jamie's done so you don't have to.
Yeah. Sorry,
Test
Danny.
pilot, Jay Olsson.
Jamie's taking over.
That's okay.
Sorry.
I love talking about Jamie's crashes. No, but so there are some rumours that Deceuninck Quickstep will be doing, and I guess theoretically any other Specialized sponsored team will be doing Paris-Roubaix on normal tube type clincher tyres.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
It is interesting. So the backstory is Specialized made tubeless wheels 2 years ago, or Roval, and then said that they were great and tubeless was the best. And then last year they said they were terrible and tubeless was the worst, and everyone should be putting tubes in their tyres.
Oh.
And they no longer really make tubular rims.
Huh.
Interesting.
It's an unusual
So there's going to
flip-flop
be a
from
new tubular rim.
Maybe. Well, no, there won't be a new one. They'll either have to race on the old ones, which are slower, like aerodynamically slower, but they can run them as tubulars if they've got any old ones kicking around the shed, or they're going to have to run tubes and get loads of flats. So,
but where does aerodynamics play in a race like this?
I mean, it plays in a race like this massively.
Okay.
Obviously, if you get a flat, all the aero in the world doesn't matter. But if you're in a break off the front, you want to have every advantage you can.
Okay.
But obviously, that's got to be balanced in a race like Roubaix. All the rules go out the window, so it's really got to be balanced with. With like not getting a flat and actually being able to ride the cobbles. Yeah. So that's going to be fun to watch.
Interesting. What about last year when in, I think, Strade Bianchi, I remember hearing EF.
Yes.
What was the team called last year? It wasn't Nipo, EF
Education First.
Yeah. They were running the tyres that had the inserts in them.
They were.
So that if they got a flat, they could still keep riding.
Yes. I mean, mountain bikers will be familiar with things like Cushcore, which is like an insert that goes around the rim, and then you have a tubeless tyre as well. So that insert means that if you hit a really big sharp edge, you're not going to get a flat basically, because you hit the insert rather than hitting pinching the tyre on the rim. So no one really makes a road insert yet. So they were using an unreleased sort of prototype insert for Strade Bianchi with tubeless tyres. So it means that you can get all the benefits of tubeless in terms of like running a bit of sealant in there, although apparently they weren't. But you can also still ride with a flat like you can with a tubular.
Interesting.
Cool.
Speaking of, that was Danny's tech tip.
I've got more, but that's fine.
Oh, okay. We'll come back for round two of tech tidbits later.
Actually, it's just a best kits argument.
Best kits?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Ef, a big shout out to Owen Blandy, who is now chefing for EF Nippo. What are they called now?
EF Nippo. EF Education First Nippo?
Nippo, something like that. I don't know. But go give him a follow on Instagram, the Pancake Peloton.
He's living his best life, isn't he? The places he's checking into, and I just love all the pink. Everything is amazing.
Just amazing. Yes. Talking of best kits, I think EF have it pretty dialed. But what's cool about it is because he's a chef, so he's part of the support team. So they've got the van that's decked out as a kitchen, and he's cooking his sourdough pancakes and everything else. I mean, he's a local guy from London. We actually shouted him a bit of a kit actually many years ago, because he was racing in the I think he got like a top 10 finish or something in the Ride 100 that came through here. Anyway, long story short, he's now, he walked away from his, kind of 9 to 5 accountant's boring job, and he's gone back to sort of cooking, and he's got this job, and he just did the Volta a Catalunya. What was the race he did before then? I can't remember exactly what it was.
I can't remember. He's been gone a couple of weeks, but he is living his best life.
It's so exciting.
It's wonderful.
But the reason why I say go and follow him, because he really does give a good insight to what happens behind the scenes. What happens, he's working literally from morning to night, making sure they've got all the food ready when the race is finished. Their race, he's got treats for them and all sorts. Go give him a shout out.
He's doing his hotel reviews too, but he doesn't get to spend any time in them. He's focused on the amount of pillows he had the other day, but he barely laid his head down because it's a long day.
It's a pretty good way of reviewing hotels, actually. Pillow size and pillow quantity.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. So, you heard it here first. All right, Danny, what's your second tech tidbit? Danny's tech tidbit.
Kit chat.
Okay.
Who's got the best kit in the Pelo?
Well, we just answered that.
Yeah, the pink
Well,
one.
I can tell you who's got the
Canyon
worst.
SRAM's national team kits are the best. At least Chabby's Swiss national champs jersey is unreal.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
very,
a
very
pretty
good.
good shout, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, their normal kit,
Oh,
even
yeah,
the
so good.
non-national champs kit's pretty good. But yeah,
Rate
it's-
that.
Worst kit is that horrible Norwegian team that looks like Team DHL.
Oh, I don't know.
Team DHL.
Oh, come on.
They're not as bad as some of the, like, what's it? Is it Wanty Gobert that have the little logos on the sleeves that
Yeah,
look like
very-
their arm warmers have half fallen down?
Very Conti.
That's horrific.
Yeah, but that's been the same for like 30 years. So you kind of just go, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
that's
you,
true.
You've stuck to your guns a
Their
bit.
bikes are horrible.
Yeah, their bikes are horrible. Delco's kit's quite good.
Oh, that's the blue and white stripe one?
The stripy one, the sailor kit. I like that.
I like
Yeah.
AG2R.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Possibly
good.
controversial.
Oh, the brown one.
Yeah,
the brown bibs.
Yeah, no.
Big
Yeah.
typeface. I like it.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
cool.
handy at times having brown bibs, maybe, but with those
Always
cobbles.
Always
That's Tom
handy.
Dumoulin.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, in the men's Gent-Wevelgem yesterday, Sam
Oh, yeah.
Bennett
Oh yeah.
throwing up on a bike whilst he was raiding, or pulled to the back of the group, vomited to his left.
For the record, it wasn't brown.
No, it wasn't brown. No,
Thankfully.
no, it was definitely liquid based, and then went back. I mean, he looked awful, but then went back and was doing turns, which
Yeah.
We've all been there now.
Giro Sundays.
Wasn't that yesterday for you?
Yeah, let's give Louise a direct message and ask her what happened. That's
Might be on CC.
yeah.
God, have you
Oh
got
yeah, we'll have a
camera
little
facing
rewind
out?
tomorrow.
About 8 a.m.
8 a.m. All right.
Good.
Yeah, we'll dig that up.
Yeah, good. Thankfully, the 0% beer that you're drinking is also electrolyte, so we're rehydrating you.
Excellent,
Yeah, we're
thank
just
you,
helping
thank
now.
you.
Yeah, we're rehydrating you. What have been some of the other highlights from this year, both men's and women's?
Oh, we were talking about Chantal Black, her win at Strada recently.
Yes.
That was very cool.
She might be on
Just
for
to
this
watch her
weekend.
just ruthlessly sit on Elisa Longo Borghini's wheel until 300-400 meters to go,
Right.
and then just drop her. That was great.
I felt cruel.
I mean, it's cruel. It takes a lot of like guts to just sit there.
Yeah.
But she could, because she had 3 teammates in the bunch, and
Yeah.
that was great. That was
Yeah.
really cool to watch.
That's one of those things. That's one of the really exciting things about cycling, is that if you don't understand those little nuances, it can seem like a little bit like, oh, that's a bit sucked. Do you remember it? What year is it? 2012, when Simon Gerrans won the Milan-San Remo, and he basically sat on Cancellara's wheel for ages, but he didn't have to. And it was like, well, people can say it's unfair, but he just got in a better position and held it there for a long time, and then came through to win. I think it was Cancellara's wheel.
The flip side of that, when Stannard took on 3 quick step riders in, it was probably 2014, and he managed to come out on top when he was completely outnumbered in that situation, which that must have taken a lot of strength and a lot of guts just to time that right.
See, this is why this period of cycling is just the best. I don't get too excited about the Giros or the Tours or the Voltas. They're usually really good, but I get so excited about this this period of cycling, like this. For both the men's and women's, it's just such an exciting. Anyone can win, anything can happen. Oh, I just love it.
Is that because they're one dayers? Do you like it starting and finish like within the day, or is it?
I've got a
Is
very
that's
short attention
decisive?
span.
You can't be bothered to wait 3 weeks.
Get out. No, I mean, I really enjoy watching the tours, but there's just something so exciting about, that finish that you were talking about, where he shouldn't have won.
No.
He was
no
up
way.
against 3 teammates and he won. It's just one of those moments that you just, talk about.
And such a popular guy as well. Just like one of the nice guys who never wins, always does work for his teammates. To pull that off was just that was once in a lifetime stuff, which was
absolutely,
and that happens every year. That's not an odd event. That happens every year.
What been some of the other highlights?
I'll throw it to someone else.
Louise? No?
No, it's all been terrible. Yeah,
It's all been awesome. I love it.
The Milan-San Remo race.
that was great.
Stuyven?
Love to see a Stuyven win.
Yeah.
Love to see that.
But I'm just really excited about, at the moment, in both the men's and women's peloton, we've got some great British talent. The women's is probably arguably a little bit better for a while, with like Lizzie Digan.
Yeah.
And she's always smashed it. She goes very, very well at Flanders. Always goes very well there. Has she won it? Has she won it?
I'll tell you.
So.
Give me 1 sec.
Danny's on
Here
pro
we go.
cycling stats.
She's in good form at the moment.
Yeah.
Yesterday, you could see her, on the radio talking, and I wondered if she was going to go. So maybe this weekend she's, building up to doing more.
Because I know there's been
performing definitely.
Definitely, and it's a strong team.
Yeah.
16. Yeah, I knew. Yeah, that's right. And I think that was from like a break as well, because she came cruising up with maybe one or two others up the at the Quaremont.
Yeah.
Finished with Emma Johansson, and then a decent group behind her.
Yeah. And there's been obviously Laura Kenny and Danny Rowe have been, or Danny King, no, Danny Rowe now. I always get them mixed up. But now we've got the British contingent has always been pretty well supported in the tours, as we know. We've got multiple winners. But now we've got like some really exciting racing, and they're really being allowed to go. We've got obviously, Sam Bennett's Irish, but we've got Tom Pidcock, who's not afraid to race. And there's teams, which is just brilliant for Ineos. They're just letting him go, just letting him kind of saying, yeah, sure, like go for it. It was great seeing, sort of Team Ineos at the front of Milan-San Remo. Questionable tactics.
I was going to say, maybe it's a hot take, but I don't know if that was the smartest racing by Ineos.
But it was great seeing them, because they're not normally not allowed to, but you don't see sort of many British riders really being able to kind of give it the beans at these races, and they are, which is really exciting. Is Pidcock racing Flanders? I really hope he is.
Yeah, he must be. Yeah,
he'll be there. Theoretically, he's on the start list.
they like on Ineos, they've just 1-2-3'd the Volta Catalunya GC.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Winner was a British talent.
Yeah.
And Geraint Thomas was on the podium as well. And it's completely different racing to the classics. But
it just goes to say,
it's that really diverse talent pool.
So, this is one of the interesting things about the difference between the men's and the women's peloton, is that the women's peloton as a whole is much smaller, and so you have a lot of the riders that will go do stage races as well as the classics, whereas the size and obviously the scale and the funding of the men's peloton allows for teams to have a classics focused team and you are seeing more of it in the women's peloton, but it has been less. There's been times we've been out of Flanders and you've seen some of the strong sort of like female riders come up, and then you've also got some of these climbers at the back, and you're just like, oh no, like they shouldn't be doing this race. Like literally, they probably weigh about like 40 kilos, and they're just literally just bouncing on the cobbles. But because they don't have the scale, they have to insert X amount of riders to get an entry. So obviously, with the men's peloton, you have teams that are devoted to just the classics, and with a rider like Geraint Thomas, I personally feel that if he was not allowed to, it's probably not the right saying, but if he wanted to focus on just the classics and not the Grand Tours, I think he would have won a few by now, in my opinion. A few monuments for sure. He's just that kind of rider, but obviously you have to change your body type.
He's got his Tour victory now.
Exactly, to get a Tour victory, so he might not do it. Brad came pretty close in 2013. I think it was 13 was his last time he ran the Roubaix. And he basically said, well, I'm not going to do a tour again. So he put on weight, got strong, 2014 or 13. But the difference in riding the classics to riding a Grand Tour is completely different. Isn't that right, Danny?
It is right.
Yeah.
Danny's done
so
both.
I'm Danny's head deep in stats.
Yeah.
What about Sagan? He's like, do you think he's
he
missing
made his comeback
time
in Milan-San Remo,
and he wants to go for it again the next couple of weeks?
I really hope so. He's an exciting rider, isn't he? And he just brought that kind of flair of... And what was nice about him in that he became this kind of antithesis of like these team riders, and that he didn't... He used his team, and of course, he and Oss have such a strong relationship, but he would surf wheels. He was smart enough to kind of similar as we're seeing from Van der Poel at the moment. Like he was smart enough to kind of just follow the right wheels as opposed to lean on his sprint train, and it got result. He'd always get the things.
A glimmer of him coming back in Milan-San Remo, and a chance that we'd have a fourth protagonist in this already.
And he won a stage
crazy.
at Catalonia as well.
He's my outside pick.
It
wasn't.
We're going to picks.
It wasn't a strong field in Catalonia, as in a strong field of sprinters.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
But on his day, he's amazing, and he is coming back to form.
Because he had COVID. He had COVID in like January or February, which isn't long ago. He could be hanging around.
It would be. We were there when he won.
Yeah,
and it was like 50k off the front, and just there's just something very. Oh, it sounds a little bit over the top, but just watching him, and he was in what's now an illegal position, kind of elbows on the bars, just pushing his biggest gear, but it just looks so fluid, and did that for 40k, and the finish into Oudenaarde. Just amazing.
It's actually going to be the first race. All those things are illegal.
Yeah.
Will it affect the race, Danny?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. There we go. Horse's mouth right there.
Yeah. And that concludes this episode. Yeah, that's right. He's. I would say he's my outside pick. It'd be great to see him go well. Yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah,
again.
It was good to see him back at Milan San Remo, and he's a character. Again, it goes back to that, like all the people in both pelotons, that the characters, they're the ones you want to win. They might not be the strongest. We're lucky in the sense that a lot of them are. Yeah. But it's the characters, it's the stories that you want to see. You really get behind them. You find yourself shouting at the telly when someone you like's attacked solo. Yeah. Even though you probably know they're completely doomed because they've done it at a completely wrong time, you still get behind them. And he's one of those guys that will always command that support when he attacks, when he does something. Yeah. So
he's good for the sport. It gets people watching who aren't necessarily as into it as we are. Yeah. People from our own countries that get you to buy in, and characters like Sagan. So
So I did I met him a couple of years ago. We got invited out to do this event in Italy, and so I helped do an interview with him. And he walked in, and he's actually a pretty laid back guy, but he was wearing this like Vietnam style like military jacket, like kind of like a green kind of like fatigue jacket, and it had all these patches over it, and I was like, oh, that's quite cool. Anyway, so he's in the interview, and I suddenly realised all the patches, and there's patches on the front and all the back, are all his face.
What? That's amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then there's this massive one on his back, and it's his face. It was like, oh, he's basically just covered this jacket, which is just amazing. Like, anyway, he's
do you think he's covered in tattoos? He's certainly as well?
He's got that big one here. He's got that big one on his ribs. That's his face. And it says, "Why so serious?" Yeah.
Him as the Joker. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. You love a bit of these personalities in cycling. So should we get into some picks?
Picks, all right. Yeah.
All right. So
shotgun not first.
Well, we can do
not first.
We can look to do Flanders as well. Roubaix as well. But we'll certainly start with Flanders. So let's start with the men's. So Danny, you go first. You're the one that's done all the stats on it.
Okay. I mean, it's pretty hard to go past the Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel, Julian Alaphilippe trio. I mean, they've been so dominant all year. There's been a couple of races they haven't won, but it's not many. Yeah. I think there was some stat that like every race that they've entered this year, one of them's won it or something. It's just crazy. Like,
really?
They're just they're so good. And that was until
when all three of them have raced apart from
Wevelgem. But like incredible.
Wow,
so
that's fun.
that's my top three. I think it'll be in that order. Wout.
Oh,
Mathieu, Alaphilippe.
Oh yeah,
I reckon.
An outsider pick,
Henrik Hausler.
Oh,
yeah, he's gone top 20, top 30 the last two races. I reckon he's tuned up.
You'd love to
he's
see.
Got his custom shoes on. He's ready to go.
He's been doing cyclocross.
He's been doing cross. He's on form.
Yeah,
he blew up big though.
Look,
in Gent-Wevelgem,
he just went. You know what?
I love the guy.
I'm far enough into the race. I'm just going to park it.
I've left my teammate where he should be.
He's on form.
Listen, Heino, if you're listening, like I've got a big man crush on you. Always have done. The bleached hair, and I would love to see you win.
But
no, but I've got just mad love for the guy. Like he just hasn't had those big results, but
he's just not as good as Goggle.
But he's always been there. Yeah. Okay. Jay, who's your pick? And then, sorry, Danny, outsider.
No, that was Henrik Hausler.
Oh, of course, yeah. Oh, sorry, I've just
the man himself.
My eyes have gone hazy.
It's that beard.
It's
not behind you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've not done as much comprehensive research as Danny.
Classic.
But I agree with him. Wout's going to win because I like him. He's my favourite of the three. And this is completely not based on any kind of knowledge, or it's pure favouritism. And of the 3 favourites, Wout's the guy.
Yeah,
he's got to be the winner.
Why do you like him more?
I don't know.
You don't know.
He rides a Cervelo, and I got a Cervelo.
Oh dear. You're not allowed to talk about that. You're under contract.
Yeah,
you've got a curve.
Yeah, no, he rides a Cervelo.
Yeah.
No, I think he seems like the most laid back, the most humble of the 3.
Yeah.
And I just quite like that. I prefer it to that kind of ego that the other 2 have.
Yeah, sure.
It might be a bit unfair on them.
Okay.
Like, they're great guys as well. I just prefer Wout.
All right.
And then my outsider is Michael Goggle. If he can get if he can get the right side of the splits,
He's not even starting.
he's a danger man.
So explain your love for Michael Goggle.
Oh, just after his performance in Strada,
Yeah.
outrageous, just hanging on.
Yeah.
And I liked it. It was just, it was good to see him so human at that point.
Okay.
And then also still, he was very much an outsider, which is why he's my outsider. But he was still there with the best of the best.
Yeah.
Like the hardest race of the year.
Yeah.
Still there. What a guy.
All right. Louise?
Yeah, I think top 3 is classic. I'd like to see Sagan back in there. So
It would be amazing.
I'd like that, I think. Yeah. Be good to see him performing and getting up there again, definitely.
So the weather's looking good,
Oh, yeah.
which means it
You've
kind
looked
of
at the weather.
yeah, it plays it out a bit, as in it makes it a little bit more of not an even playing field, but good weather. Top 3, I reckon the win is going to be from a break, and I reckon it's going to be a solo victory. That's what I think. I don't think it's going to come down to a sprint. I think it's going to be a solo victory. And I think it would be Mathieu van der Poel. That's what I'm saying. I think he'll win with the solo. And then the sort of 2 after that, I'd probably say, Wout van Aert and Michael Matthews. I'd like to see Michael Matthews on a podium.
It'd be good to see him there.
And my outsider would be Sagan. And again, but it would be a break. And because and the reason I say that is I don't think that people would think that he's in the form where he could hang that on. Because he's not in the form that he was. Well, apparently he's not in the form that he was, when he was the champ in 17 or 18. But that's what I think.
Maybe he's been hiding something.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe I'm just, kind of madly in love with him and hoping that it will.
You're in love with everyone.
That's perfectly okay, though.
Yeah. I'm a real slut.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that's Flanders men's, women's. Danny?
Women's, all right. I am going to go with, where are we? So I think Elisa Longo-Borghini.
Yeah.
She's on incredible form. She won Trofeo Binder, second at Strava, very, very strong at Gent-Wevelgem. I think she's got a win in her. Second, I'm going to, maybe this is a controversial pick, but Grace Brown. She's, obviously on form as well. She won, what was it she won the other week?
Is that an Aussie bias?
Is she the?
It's absolutely an Aussie bias.
Is she the Aussie champion? Is she the Australian champion?
Yeah.
She is, okay, fine.
And I'd love to see her get a result at Flanders. And then
on your grace.
And then third is Annemiek van Vleuten.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know she hasn't had done a lot of races this year, but she's just always so good. You can never write her off.
She does suit it.
Yeah. So I think she'll be there on the podium. And my outsider pick, which she's not really an outsider. She won in 2019 and was fifth in Gent-Wevelgem. Is Marta Bastianelli.
Oh.
She's done pretty well this year and she's always good. So, yep. But doesn't have the strongest team, Ale Cipollini. So there's not a lot of real hitters on that team. So,
but it's a race where you can just hang in, isn't it? You don't necessarily need a team around you unless you've got somebody up the front. You just got to make the splits. Yeah. But you don't have to work. But if you're strong, you can go. Jamie?
I again, like the men's, I've not done as much research as Danny.
Classic.
And I'm picking Chantal Black for the win. She's defending champion.
Yeah.
And after watching her at Strada, I think she's got team advantage, which is important. And that attack was just devastating.
Yeah.
And it's against Danny's favourite in Strada. She's already done it once this year. So I don't see why she can't do it again.
Danny looks offended.
Yeah.
I was just going to say I need to make a correction. Grace Brown isn't national champion. Sorry, it's Sarah Roy. Sorry,
Oh,
Sarah.
that's right. Yeah. Sorry.
Awkward.
Luckily, it was nothing I said.
On your Sarah.
And
Louise. Oh, sorry. You haven't
my
finished.
outsider,
Sorry, you just really
is-
droning on.
yeah.
Jeez.
Cassia Niwadoma.
Oh.
Okay.
She's always there or thereabouts, so maybe it's a strong outsider, but
Nice.
that's my shout.
Nice.
I reckon Longo Borghini.
Okay.
I want to see her
Yeah.
bring home the victory.
She deserves a win,
after all the work that she's putting on that gets taken away. And then, I don't know, but, there's the Van Vleuten, Van der Breggen, Vos, they're classic, and they're all hungry for a win. And even though they've won a million times, they still love it. That was what was great yesterday as well. Vos, what was it, 400 wins she's had, and she celebrates each one of them like it's her first, which is brilliant. So them...
It's going
I
to
think
be
one
good.
of them, and Cecily.
Sure.
I want to see her on the podium as well.
She'd be great.
Yeah.
So the year that we went out to go do the Sportief of Flanders, we got overtaken by Marianne Vos.
Did you?
Yeah.
She was warming up.
No. Yeah, she was basically wrecking the route, but through the Sportief. And she came steaming past.
Around?
Well, no, exactly, exactly. Like hungover and whatever else. And I remember she came steaming past, and I forget who I was with. I think it'd have been Josh. But we kind of said, "Oh, look at this champion pro kit," and then we realised it was like, "Oh, yeah." It was so good. Pretty good. So who's your outsider?
Lizzie Dinan?
Yeah.
Not really an outsider, but I'd like to see her come up as well.
All right, so my sort of top three, in no particular order, just because to see the fans go mental, to see the Belgian champ win would be amazing. So it'd be a Lottie Kopecky. It'd be amazing to see her cross the line. Again, maybe it would be in a break, I don't know. I'm going to put Lizzie Dinan in the podium, which would be great. And then, probably... I don't know. I'm going to put Vos as my outsider.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to put Vos as my outsider. Yeah, I think that'll be it. And then, I don't know. Maybe, do we want an Aussie on the podium?
I'd love an Aussie on the podium.
Yeah.
Always. That's why Heinrich's going to win, obviously.
Oh, no.
Can you
It's
imagine?
going to be Heinrich Hauser, Grace Brown, double. It's going to be great.
All right, I'll go.
Can't wait.
Just for Danny. Can you imagine?
Australia would go wild.
Yeah. Well, some of them would. Most be like,
There'd be like 4 people in Australia.
Oh,
being
yeah,
like,
you're right.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go for Chloe Brown on the podium. Yeah, let's do that.
Cool.
Sorry, Grace Brown.
Grace Brown.
Sorry, I'm thinking of Chloe Hoskins. Yeah, Grace Brown on the podium. All right. So there's our picks. Well, look, let's hopefully we get some Roubaix action as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't need to pick that because we haven't really researched it.
Stuyven. Pedersen.
Stuyven.
It's going to be a Trek podium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap things up there. But guys, thank you. Thanks for joining this first episode of the Breakaways and Breweries podcast. We do have one more beer to get through, but we're going to leave that for you guys to enjoy at home. This is from a very famous beer in Oudenaarde. Oudenaarde is the Finnish of Flanders. This is a beer called Liefmans, and this is a fruit beer. So Belgium is very well known for producing some fruit beer. So if you can find it, then I really recommend you go and do it. So we've had a beer from the start in the De Koning from Antwerp. We've had a beer in the middle from Quaremont in just outside Oudenaarde on the Old de Quaremont. And now we've got a fruit beer from Liefmans, which is in Oudenaarde. So those are your 3 beers for this race. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Louise, thank you for joining us. What's your social media?
Luke Q.
Danny Roberts-Clarke, what's your social media?
Danny_Roberts-Clarke.
Thank you very much. Jamie, what's your social media?
JME Olsson.
JME Olsson. I'm at Jordan Addison. If you enjoyed this, please go and tag us using the hashtag Breakaways and Breweries. You're going to see us pretty active watching the race on Twitter, Instagram, using Breakaways and Breweries. But this is obviously the first episode. We're going to do another one ahead of some of the Ardennes, and then we'll do another one ahead of the Giro, the Tour, and we'll keep this going. But it's pretty simple. It's basically armchair fan stuff around pro cycling, most men's and women's, and some local beers from each of those regions. So
and some expert opinion from Dan.
And some expert opinion.
Expert, I don't know.
Thankfully saving us there.
I've seen my Vela Games results. They are not good.
And look,
but you play Vela Games and I don't.
Look, if any of you go and put a bit of money on our predictions and you win, share the load. If you lose, it's got nothing to do with us.
Gamble responsibly.
But thank you guys. Thanks for joining. And that's a wrap.
Cheers. See you next time.
Cheers, guys.